This was a real big challenge. You gave me some very, very practical techniques to use to help to alleviate the headaches. I'm not going to say they've gone completely. However, it's a huge, huge difference. And now I know how to deal with them a lot more. I am thrilled to be here. I'm absolutely honored to have been invited and to have this opportunity to talk in quite a different way from what I normally do. I believe that through our conversation, we're going to be really opening up and talking about perimenopause, which I probably wouldn't normally do at this level, even though I do a lot of work where I'm supporting women in business. So what I do is I help women in business to do brilliant work without sacrificing their personal lives. As you mentioned, known as the less effort, more impact coach.
Today's topic is actually less efforting, and during this really sensitive and challenging years, and how you can transition into a different level of more fulfilling life with less efforting. We would like to start with like a challenges perimenopausal women is going through. And according to the study, the Journal of Women's Health, you won't be surprised that nearly like 90% of women have experienced some kind of like a really challenging stage in life. They feel like it's very difficult to move on like this. Going back to you, what was your personal maybe experience around this really delicate topic?
So I'm going to talk primarily about my experience here because we can be really specific on that one as well. I'm quite happy to talk about this openly to support everybody who's watching or listening. I would say I started to experience perimenopause maybe around 4 or 5 years ago. I'm 54 now, so it was like very late 40s that I started to experience it. And I would say the first things that I noticed was the headaches and my first experience of migraine. And I remember when that first time that happened, it was before the pandemic. It was when I was in the UK visiting my parents. And I just suddenly, it just hit me. I was like, I have to just lie down on the sofa. I cannot do anything. It's terrible headache. I felt nauseous. I was like, oh, what is going on? I believe that was related to perimenopause. And then from then on, it started to become a fairly regular thing, unfortunately. Let's maybe stay with that topic of the headaches, first of all, for those who are experiencing it. I consulted you because this was a real big challenge. And so you gave me some very practical techniques to use to help to alleviate the headaches. And so the headaches now, they're not as intense.
I'm so happy to hear that.
They're not as frequent. I'm going to say they've gone completely. However, it's a huge difference. And now I know how to deal with them a lot more effectively than in the past. You've really got to look after yourself first so that you can look after everyone else, and especially during perimenopause. So what I learned was that it's okay to rest. It's actually super effective to rest. So now whenever I feel that coming on, I am, okay, I'm going to lie down.
Thank you so much for sharing that real story, right?
Yeah, absolutely. That's hopefully a key takeaway for people listening and watching, is to ask people when you're not feeling great, to look at those opportunities to reschedule.
It's okay to say I'm not feeling well, because I just shared a post yesterday about how women like feel ashamed of sharing that they're like struggling with like heaviness or tiredness or even like a migraine in the workplace too.
And you know what, Miyako, I would say, let's turn that round and let's make it a strength. Because when you have that courage to say to people, I'm not feeling my best, then that is not being weak. That's being strong, because you're speaking up, and you're actually speaking up not just what's the best for you, but what's best for other people. Because if you're going into a work situation or whatever it is, even with family, and if you're not at your best, but you're pushing through, you're not going to get the best results. You're not going to get the best performance at work. For example, conversations with family, you're probably not going to be fully present and having the sort of conversation or quality time or whatever it is. It's not going to be at that same level. So it's much better to
Mm-hmm.
really be open about it. And then you can take some time to rest, recover, and then you come back and you're feeling much better.
Mm. If we were like
Yeah,
feeling, oh my goodness, not feeling well, then you'll understand
no
our
good.
energy, right?
Even though my program is not specifically designed for
Mm.
perimenopause, it totally applies because
Mm.
we're really looking after yourself so that you can be at your best in your work, in your life.
Let's talk about more of promoting about the less efforting, especially if you are listening in Japan, like in the a culture of Japan, we we think that work is efforting. It's like we keep learning, practicing, but also
Mm-hmm.
efforting. And without
Mm.
effort, there's no success. Like all these corporate type of education, I also
Mm-hmm.
got 34 years in the corporate, do like
Mm.
effort, like sweating and do the work, action, action. So it's like Zig Ziglar type of go. For me, like your word of less effort, more impact is really, wow, is that possible, right? I think
Right.
that is a, like a true honest response. It sounds
Yeah.
like a counterintuitive for us, right?
Oh, it's totally, yeah, that's the whole point. As you said about effort and sweating, I was thinking in perimenopause, when you've got hot flushes going on, there's enough sweating.
Too much sweating, like night and
So that was another one, when we're talking about my
yeah,
symptoms, so like the headaches and then the hot
hot
flashes,
flashes and night
that's,
sweat.
I do have that. And it's just a kind of a joke with my husband. It's, oh, here we go. Whoo, whoo,
Woohoo,
whoo.
like you need
Um,
fans.
but the thing is, I think as well, this is another, maybe a little tip, and we'll come back to the efforting in a moment, is the more you're telling yourself, oh, this is such a terrible thing, oh, I feel so terrible, then the more terrible you feel. So the more you can just have fun with it and say, oh, here we go
Oh,
again.
yeah, that's a here we go. Yes, let that like air and energy flow that
Yeah.
we did together be really playful
There
about
was,
your being too.
yeah, when I talk about less effort, I'm not saying no effort.
Mhm.
So some people go,
Mm.
oh, but what, no effort? You've got to put in some effort. What I'm talking about is it's really about optimization. You might
Mm.
think of it in that way, is how do I have the minimum effort and the maximum impact? It's really about
Eh.
how to look at it. I was just going to say it. So
Mhm.
when we think about what is that effort, we often think of physical effort. And
Mm.
that is a big one. When you think about that, you've got a lot going on. So you don't want to be making extra effort, challenging time anyway. And there's a lot of kind of physical symptoms come along with it. But also, what I look at in terms of effort is mental effort,
Mm.
emotional effort, not just
That's
physical effort,
mhm.
mental and emotional effort. So often we have these assumptions that I have
Mhm.
to do this, I have to do this, I have to do this, I have to do this. And then when we look at it, maybe they're not things that are important for you, things that are important for other people. And
Mm.
this is a time when
That's
perimenopause is,
deep.
it is important to look after yourself so that then you can be the best person for other people too. I can share those three of the key phrases that I work with. Number one, choose your thoughts.
Mhm.
Number two, listen to your body. And number three, do what works for you during perimenopause, because it's so easy for your thoughts to wander and go into negative territory. It's
Yes.
so easy to be feeling unwell and ignoring it and pushing through, when the more effective thing to do is to pay attention, to listen to your body and take care of yourself.
That's so beautiful. And true to your thought is
Mm.
I'm also practicing it daily. As I observe myself, I choose my thought. It's a, like a muscle training because
Oh, it
it's
totally is.
as it's like breathing. We
Yeah.
can get better at it.
Oh, absolutely.
What would be your tips or advice about this first point of choose your thought?
I truly believe that having others to talk with is so
Mm-hmm.
powerful. Having a close friend who's really supportive, and they can't hear what's in your head, but they can get a sense of what you're thinking from what you're saying and what you're doing. Having that support, which is why I am such a strong believer in having a coach or being
Mm-hmm.
part of a program,
Mm-hmm.
and also having close friends who are supportive in that way as well.
Yes, because it oftentimes takes time, or maybe I need a little bit different, like a digging into
Mm,
your the word that we use, or even like a thought pattern. About the second point of listening to your body,
mm,
people sometimes say things like, "Oh, I don't know how to listen to my body. I never did it."
mm,
What would be your like little tips about, okay, it's time to listen to my
mm,
body? Like how
mm.
you can make it in your daily life situation.
Absolutely. And a super practical one on this as well, which is what I do every day, every morning. I have my planner, write down in that planner each morning. I actually track my cycle still because I'm in
Oh,
perimenopause. So I
yes,
am
that's
still having
important. Yeah.
periods
Mm-hmm.
sometimes, not as often as in the past,
Mm-hmm.
but they just pop up occasionally. I'm tracking that
Mm.
to see what's going on cycle wise. And then I also make a note of how I'm feeling. It's an opportunity to just check in. Okay, how do I feel today?
Mm-hmm.
It's not a big task. It's just make a note. Okay, how do I feel today? Some people you might need to just sit and just maybe go into a little bit of a meditation. And if people are
Yeah.
not so familiar with meditation, because a lot of people, if you're not meditating, you think, oh, it's so hard. I've tried meditation and I can't do it. I always have thoughts. That's actually normal, right?
Yeah, yeah. Yes.
It's a case of letting them go.
Right. Love
So
it.
even just like sitting and breathing, which of course you're the
Mm-hmm.
expert in,
Mm-hmm.
just taking a few breaths and just say, okay, how am I
Be
feeling today?
honest. Right. Yeah, that's
Yeah. And then just
beautiful.
make a note of it.
I love the fact that you share these really beautiful tips that you can apply every
Mm-hmm.
day and just try it out and see how it feels. And it comes down to the last part of the do what works for you.
Mm-hmm. We have all of these assumptions that we make.
Mhm.
So you might say, yeah, I'm feeling rubbish today. I am not feeling my best,
Not
but
bad,
I still
bad.
have to go to work, or
Mhm.
I still have to give a presentation
Patient,
at
yeah.
work, or I have something like
Mm-hmm.
that. Fine, I'm not saying that it's going to be possible to reschedule everything
Mm-hmm.
just because of how you feel.
Mm-hmm.
It may be important to still do those things. At the same time, be kind to yourself where you can schedule in a little bit of extra rest time before or after.
The point that you gave us a wonderful tips that we actually do not no effort, but less
Mm-hmm.
efforting,
What's your
minimum.
minimum effort for your maximum impact in whatever it
Mm.
is that you're doing?
You told us about the prioritizing, but what's really important at the end of the day when you feel something, okay, it's too much, or I have to do this and that, but my physical condition is not good. And then you have a choice and you can prioritize, you can be honest to yourself and maybe honest to your work colleagues,
Mm-hmm.
your clients or your family, and then
Yeah,
allow them to also be like that person
absolutely.
and helping
Yeah,
each other in a beautiful, like a group or whatever environment,
yeah.
less efforting, right? It sounds not easy, but it's like the easy flow of energy there.
Yeah. Yeah, as you were just mentioning about family as well, that also brought to my mind the topic of mum guilt. So when
That's
women,
huge.
when you're at work and then you feel guilty because you're not taking care of your kids.
So today you've given us so much the greater tips and strategies, starting from like sharing your vulnerability, be authentic, and have a 3 tips exactly that works for you. Choose your thought.
Mm-hmm.
And of course, including that you listen to your body and
Mm-hmm.
do what works for you. You'll be
Yeah.
surprised how Helen is enjoying not only her business success, but also sharing her insight, beautiful insight and practical tips that you can
Yeah.
take in to actually upgrade and do less efforting with more impact, even if you're during perimenopause. So thank you so much for tuning in, and I hope you have a wonderful day and enjoy your body. Thank you so much. Are you ready to take charge of your energy in your prime years and live life on your own terms? Sign up for my free video training series and discover the incredible power you already have to revitalize your body and mind during perimenopause. You can find the link in the description below. You'll learn the secrets that Asian women have been using for thousands of years to alleviate perimenopausal symptoms naturally and feel more alive, vibrant, and in control of your health. Thank you so much for tuning in, and I can't wait to see you in the next episode.